What's up guys, my name is Ron from Comics and Stuff, and for today's episode we are going over the G.I.Joe classified series, Cobra, Tele-Viper, and Cobra Flight Pod, aka the Trubble Bubble. And I'm happy to have this in hand guys. I mean, the Trubble Bubble was featured prominently in that opening sequence to the G.I.Joe animated movie, and I love that movie. And I think they did good service to that movie with this package. I mean, it does show the Trubble Bubble right there, several of them, nicely photographed. Of course, it's photoshopped and all of that, but it still looks good. Laminated as well. But the treatment doesn't end there, guys. The G.I. Joe logo right here is embossed. You do see some Cobra insignia right there. Hasbro right there. To the side of that photograph is some nice artwork of the Tele-Viper, as well as his accessories. And all of it laminated. To the top, G.I. Joe Classified Series embossed. To the bottom, I mean, there's legalities, barcode, and when you go to the left-hand side, that nice artwork to the Tele-Viper is right there, as well as the number 79. Go to the other side, and it's basically the same thing. But when you head to the back, now, it does show the Tele-Viper, and it does show the Flight Pod. Shows the accessories and everything like that, as well as warnings, Hasbro. But what's cool is that it shows the height to both. Over here we got 6.3 inches or 161 millimeters for the Tele-Viper. And for the Flight Pod it's 5.8 inches or 148 millimeters. We're going to see if all that is true once we open the package. So now that everything is done, let's get to that. Alright, and here is the Cobra, Tele-Viper, and the Trubble Bubble outside of his package. And guys, there's a slight bit of assembly required for the Trubble Bubble. I mean, it's nothing crazy or anything like that, but there is some slight assembly to it. But before we do that, I wanted to show what it came in. I mean, we're already familiar with these Cobra crates, but this one's a bit oversized in order to hold the accessories that it does bring. There's the number 79 right there. Tele-Viper and Cobra Flight Pod, aka the Trubble Bubble. 79 on the other side. And yeah, just the Cobra insignia right there. But what I really wanted to get into was that the artwork for the Tele-Viper is the background in which both the Tele-Viper and the Cobra Flight Pod came in. So I do think that that's a nice little touch for these plastic-free packaging kind of figures. So I wish they did more of that. But anyway, let's get into the slight assembly that I was talking. And you know what? Before we do the slight assembly, let's get into the measurements just to see if they were actually correct. I mean, the Tele-Viper right here does stand at 6.3 inches and the Flight Pod about 5.8. So it does seem like they have their measurements right. So I am glad for that. Now, let's get into the assembly that I was talking about. First off, let's put this on. As you guys can see, got some nice rivets, got some paint, got the Cobra insignia, serial number, as well as a danger, hot exhaust. And if you guys want to know, it does have some kind of articulation. Pegs right there, holes right here. Simple, easy peasy. A little tight fit. I don't want to crack anything, but yeah, ports in just fine. Now, there is something else, which are these side missiles. Now, the side missiles, you got to first put them in right here with these little things. I don't know how to call this, guys, but basically match it up to the side right there. Let's put the other missile. Again, match it up with the appropriate holes. And you got, yeah, right there. And they plug into the side of the Cobra Flight Pod. So, put this one right here. I think I got it on the wrong hole. That's what she said, but all right, let's check this one out. Yeah, this one's the right one. And this one plugs in like so. So, does look good. And finally, the last piece is this gun right here. Got some nice sculpt and everything like that. No paint, but still looks good. not too bendy either. So I do like how it feels. And as you guys see, there is a hole on the top. Now, you plug it in. Hold up again. Let me get a good grip to this. There we go. And it plugs in like so. Now, when you do plug it in, it affords it some articulation. There's tilt, there's rotation, there's down, there's up. So I do like that. But now, let me just go through the accessories before I go through the flight pod, guys. There is this backpack right here. Got some nice paint, little buttons. Got a little port right here for this hose. Put it right there. And the other end goes with the gun, which is, I'm guessing, a flamethrower. Or some sort of other, some sort of other weapon that requires a hose. And as you guys see, it looks rather nice. Now, it does port to the back of the Cobra Tele-Viper himself. And as you guys can see, he got a vest. So you got to line up the vest hole with the hole in the body. Basically, put it like so. Now put on the backpack like so. He could hold the weapon if he wants, but you could also sling it on the back. The way I do it is by putting it where the scope is supposed to be, because that way it doesn't really impede with him. Now, you could do it by the trigger hole as well, but there's some impedes the articulation a bit, so I don't like doing it that way. I mean, you could, I guess, yeah. I would say the scope right there would be your best option. So that doesn't look too bad. Now, another accessory, and this one's I'm a bit confused about, guys. I mean, it looks like a mine, right? There's nothing on the vehicle that I saw for it to be plugged in, ported in, and got the right colors for it. But yeah, there is also a port here. And maybe it's, to fly off and everything, but why not include the appropriate accessory for this piece? I do like how it looks. You got some little mine things right there, some buttons, got some nice paint on it. There is a caution, and if you guys are wondering if this is able to open, indeed it is. Hold on a sec. There we go. And when you open it, there are some wires and doodads in there. So I really do like this, but it sucks that you just can't plug it in or something to the flight pod itself. There we go. All right, now our final accessories will be these alternate heads. And of course, if you're troop building this Cobra Flight Pod, these will come in very handy because you could offer alternate looks to each of the pilots. There is this base head. There is this also, man of color right here in order to have some diversification. So I do like that. The shades themselves got some nice silver. The paint on the helmet is nicely applied to both. The most different head sculpt would be this one. The visor's got some red on it and all of that. Got some more of a cybernetic look to it, like a bat. So I do like how this one looks as well. As you guys could see. Yeah, I like it very, very, very much. I like both head sculpts. All three head sculpts, actually. Very much. They got mean looks to their faces. So I dig that. Anyway, now it looks like we went through we went through all the accessories. Let's actually go through what I think is probably the star of the show of this 2-pack. Is this Trubble Bubble. I'm going to take off these missiles. I mean, you guys already saw how it looks like when it's plugged in there. I'm just going to take it off so that I could do this a bit more freely. This opens and closes. It does got tabs on the side for you to close it like so. Mine's is a little bit hard and I don't want to... Oh, there we go. Yeah, so it does close up. Yeah, I don't want to force it, but yeah, it's there. There is also paint on this clear visor with the Cobra insignia right there. So that looks rather cool. When you open it up, you do see rivets, buttons. There's nice little detail. Got some little computer screens and stuff. Got some nice radar right there. Texture around, rivets, little compartments. Sorry guys, I'm trying to give you a close look up in here because this is really, really cool. Yeah, this is very, very good. The seatbelt themselves also got sculpt. It's nice and flexible. And you guys see there is a hole for it to buckle up. So I do like that. When the bottom, like I said guys, there is some articulation to it. There's articulation here and of course here in order to seat him more comfortably, but also right here in order to steer the flight pod. And of course you already saw the gun. Yeah, that all looks good. Paint, sculpt. Yeah, that looks good down there as well. I dig this. Check that out also. Wires, some paint right there. That's not missing the mark. The red right there, SB. That all looks, and check that out. At the top, yeah. I am quite happy with how this Trubble Bubble came out. Indeed I am. Indeed I am, guys. Let's put it aside right here while we now go through the sculpt and paint on this one, because like the Trubble Bubble, the paint was nicely applied. This one also, the paint is nicely applied, not just on the head sculpt like I mentioned before, but everywhere. There is his gauntlets right there, I'm guessing. His watch is nicely painted as well. There's got some purple on his gloves, as you guys could see. There's texture all throughout his pants, so that's cool. The boots, the paint is nicely applied on it as well. Sculpt is on point and all of that. Yeah, check that out. The vest looks good, got some wrinkles. The belt right here is a floaty piece. So I do like how this Tele-Viper looks. I like how he feels, and I like how he's painted. And I like that Trubble Bubble. But maybe the articulation is not up to par. We'll check that out right now because he does have a double bull peg up there. And there is also another joint at the bottom of the neck. But that bottom part is like not giving as much range as quite the top. The top, you're going to afford a bit of tilt. Of course, swivel. I gotta say though, guys, it's pretty dang loose. At least this head. Going up using both joints will allow you to look up that much. Going down using both joints, of course, would allow you to look that much. Now for the shoulders go up like this. Basic T-pose. Does give you a full 360. There is butterfly action that'll get you across the chest that much. So it's not much at all. But back, it does afford you a bit, a bit better movement right there. So I do like that. Bicep cut does work. Double jointed, pinless elbows. That'll get you about that much range. And there is a swivel and a hinge on the hands. So everything works just fine. Now, when it comes to the abs though, and the torso articulation, there is an ab crunch as well as a ball joint down there. So just using the ab crunch doesn't get you much movement going down or going back. So yeah, but using it in conjunction with that bottom joint, now you get a bit more movement. So I do like that. If you're wondering if there's some tilt because of that ball joint down there, not much at all, guys. You're really only going to get your rotation from that joint. So I don't like that at all. But drop down hips get you like crazy splits, man. I like this Tele-Viper is doing it good. Going forward, pretty much a 90-degree angle. Going back, just a tad. You do get a thigh cut that works. Double jointed, pinless, Knees, hold up, it's a bit stuck. All right, that'll get you that much range. So it's not bad considering that his pants are a bit on the bulky side. Boot cut hidden right there where it's supposed to be, at the top of the boot. And now, feet. Yeah, not much at all forward. Back, it does afford you a lot more. But yeah, guys, it breaks up the paint. So I don't like that, but that's a small little gripe, all things considered. There is pivot on the feet. That works just swell. But anyway, now that we went through this Tele-Viper and the Cobra Trubble Bubble, let's size him up with other Cobra members as well as G.I. Joes, as well as try other figures out in that Trubble Bubble. And for our first comparison, here we have the Cobra Tele-Viper and the Trubble Bubble compared with other Cobra members. To the right, we got the Supreme Cobra Commander. To the left of him, we got the Red Ninja. And to the left of him, we got the Arctic Bat. Now, I want to point out, guys, that this, the Trubble Bubble doesn't include a stand at all. It doesn't even have a port in order to put the appropriate stand, which is a head scratcher. I did improvise with this Black Widow Deluxe stand, and it does seem to work. I mean, all I did was put the part where it holds the figures right there holding the gun, and then I slided this part in between the boosters right there. It's almost a perfect fit. And as you guys can see, it doesn't tilt or anything like that and seems to hold the weight just fine. But I shouldn't have to do that at all. I mean, it should have been included with the set, especially if you got multiples, that's just a head scratcher. Anyway, let's see how some of these Cobra members actually fit inside the Trubble Bubble. And our first figure up will be the Red Ninja, and as you can see, guys, he fits in with no problem at all. But I did want to mention a few things. First of all, be careful with these handles. As you guys can see, I already got a little stress mark on there, and that's just with the Tele-Viper. So I won't be putting their hands on the handles for these comparisons. I just don't want to stress it out more. Also, you do have to tuck in his outfit in between his legs in order to get the seatbelts to close. But other than that, he fits just fine. And believe me, guys, he's still able to grip the handlebars. But now that you guys saw how he looked like, let's go with another figure. And the second figure to try out the Trubble Bubble will be the Cobra Arctic Bat. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks good. But because he's a bigger figure, it is more of a hassle with his arms as well as the seatbelt. But it still works, at least I think personally. But again, he does seem to be a bit big for it. And now here is the man Cobra Commander inside the Trubble Bubble. And he looks good. I opted to leave his cape on though, just to see if it was even possible. And indeed it is. I just scooted it over to the side like that. And I think this is a good look. Not bad at all. But now that we went through all the comparisons with the Cobras, let's see how G.I. Joes look. And here we got a G.I. Joe comparison. To the right is Roadblock, to the left is Duke, and to the left of Duke is of course Lady J. And we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with Cobra and see how each one of these figures fit inside the Trubble Bubble. And our first Joe up will be Lady J. And this is where I think we come across kind of our first fail. I mean, because of her small frame, the seatbelt doesn't quite buckle up where it's supposed to be without it looking funny. You will have to tuck them in between each other in order for it to kinda look alright. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a fail. It's a little bit oversized for her. But let's go on with the next figure. And the next Joe to try out the Trubble Bubble will be Roadblock. Now, I thought he was going to have the exact opposite problem that Lady J did, in which he was going to be too big. But just like the Cobra Bat, I don't think that's a bad look at all. I mean, you do have to squinch up his pouches in order for the seatbelt to fit. And it looks a little funny with his helmet on. But when you take it off, I think that's not a bad look. And that's not a bad look in general. But anyway, now let's see how Duke looks like in it. And here we now have Duke inside the Trubble Bubble. And just like Lady J, the seatbelt wasn't a hassle for him, like at all. But unlike Lady J, he's a lot more fudgeable in it. In fact, he might be my favorite comparison thus far. Let me know what was yours down in the comments. So in conclusion, I absolutely love both the Tele-Viper and the Flight Pod. I mean, the sculpt is good, the articulation to the Tele-Viper is pretty dang good, the paint is pretty well applied, but that's not to say that it's without its problems. I mean, there is no flight stand and there's nothing to pour a flight stand in. So that's a bit of a head scratcher. Also, the plastic on the handles are a bit iffy and are prone to stress marks. That's a bit manageable, but again, it's still a little gripe of mine. If you guys are interested in it, I will leave a link down in the descriptions. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like, comment, and subscribe because all of that stuff helps out the channel. My name is Ron from Comics and Stuff, and I'll check you guys on the next episode. Peace.